Hi there everybody, welcome back for another Missing Stamps video. This is Cassie. Today we're going to be making a friendship card, but let's talk about what we're using first. I have this really cool, it's the Shields and Crest die set, and it has different animals. You can make different shields with it. This stamp set is called Personality, Humble, and there are three others in this this line of stamps, and so there's one with a snake, and this one's a badger, but there's also a lion, and there is a crow. And then we have this stamp set called The Best Sort, and I'm going to be using the sentiment from there. I may use the stars, and this hat is what I'm going to use, this die. It's actually separate from this stamp set and die set, but I'm going to be using that. We also have the Postage die. I'm going to be using this, not the biggest one, but this frame right here, and we did it out of black. What I like about this is that it does have really cool embossing on the edge, which it's just those little details that I really love. It adds to your card. So I have a piece of cream cardstock that I'm cutting down to about 1/8 of an inch shorter than 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So I'm just doing it on the long side and the short side. So it is just ever so slightly smaller than the front of an A2 size card. And we are going to fill up this background with all of the words from this sentiment set. Now, like I said, there are three others in this line of stamps. I have the one with the snakes, but you could do so many different fun ones with this. And so I'm going to line those up in there in my Misty, close the door of the Misty, ink that up with some Stellar ink. This is some cookie dough Stellar ink by Simon Hurley Create. And then I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep filling the space in with the words. Sometimes I'll repeat the words, just moving those around. I really had so much fun doing this. I wish that I had had a few more pieces of cardstock that I could have just stamped those out just to have on hand, because this ends up being such a sweet friend card in my opinion, that I wish I had done more. But we're going to do this a few more times just to keep filling in those gaps. It's really just a background, so you don't see, you can read some of the words, but you don't read all the words. And then we'll just do it one more time, and then that's going to end up filling up most of the space in there. But like I said, I really had a great time filling that in, reading the words. I just love this stamp set. It's such a fun stamp set. So there's our background. Now we're going to go ahead and do some die cutting using that Shields and Crests die. And so I've already pre-cut my paper. I need 3 of each of the, or 4 total. So I'm doing the smaller shield is done from the mustard colored. The bigger shield is done from black. This part is done from black, and then we're going to do our little badger out of some gray. And then I do need my hat. I'm just going to do 1 hat, but I do end up doing 4 of the shields. So we'll run this through our die cutting machine. And I've got my magnetic mat. That's super helpful, holds all those dies in place. And this little hat is so cute. He has a face on it. And so we're going to end up covering the back of it so that you don't see quite through him, but he's cute. He almost looks angry, but he's really cute. And then we've got our little badger. Like I said, we cut him out a few more times, and then the parts of the shield. But I feel like I need to get my hands on those other 2 personality sets for sure. So we're going to glue the shield together. We'll put the mustard colored on top of that black one. Then we put this piece on the shield as well. And then we're going to glue down this badger. But for the other 3, our little badger is going to be popped up using some tiny foam squares. The one that was glued down, is going to end up going on the inside of the card. But these 3 are going to end up being on the front of the card. So I put them all together the same. So our shield is done the exact same way as the other one. And then this is just going to need some of these little micro squares. These are great. I have been using the heck out of these ever since I discovered them. They're so fabulous. If I had known about them sooner, I probably would have been using them for sure, because I use these all the time now. You just don't realize sometimes you need a small little piece of foam tape. And he works perfect, or these work perfect on my tiny badgers. So we'll pop him on there, and I'm going to show you how he looks having that dimension on the shield. It's so cute. Oh, now I want to do the other shields too. Do the little lion and the snake and the crow. We're going to stamp our sentiment. Once again, that came from our The Best Sort stamp set. I stamped it using some clear embossing ink and then covered it with some fine detail white embossing powder. We are going to trim this down after we clean up our mess. I'm going to leave a little bit of an end on that right hand side. I will trim that down a little bit, but I'm going to have this sticking out from behind our border. Our base is some more of that mustard cardstock cut at 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4.25 inches. And then we're going to glue down our panel to the front of our base. So you can see that was just slightly smaller than our A2 size card base. I love this one. And now we'll bring in that border that we'd already die cut out. And we're going to end up gluing our sentiment to the back of that border. So it looks like one whole piece. And then I can flip this over, just using my glass mat to make sure it's fairly straight. Flip it over, and then I'm going to use some foam squares on the back of these. Now these foam squares are actually black. When you peel off that white release paper, they are black. Take a look. And the reason you can use black on these, or that you should or can, is that way when you look from the side, you don't see the foam square. And if you do, you can't tell that they're not straight. So it just makes me feel a little better that that's how that's like, that is what that's like behind the frame. So I'll do my best to center that on there and make sure that's as straight as possible. And then we're just going to glue down our little shields to the inside of that frame. And I'm going to put 3 in there. I don't know why I chose 3. I just really liked them. So I wanted 3 on there. And then we'll grab our little hat. And I'm going to grab one of the scraps of that mustard cardstock, and we're just going to glue it behind his face on the back of the hat. And so that way when you flip it over, what you see is just that his face looks like it's glowing. So I'll use a foam square on the back of him as well, and then we'll just use a little bit of glue on the tip of the hat. And then we can add our shield to the inside of the card. I think either spot would have been fine, but I do end up putting them in the lower right hand corner. And now that that's on there, that's actually going to finish off our card. You could add some embellishments if you wanted to, but I really do like how this turned out. And now I want to do the other personalities. So if you like this video, please be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Miss Ink Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.